Well, that was a disappointing weekend. So, after their performance, combined with their performance since the trade deadline, are we saying our Arizona Cardinals are above average or below average? Because you certainly can't say that they're above average.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, your team every day. Baseball is my religion, the Diamondbacks are my denomination, and you are my congregation. So settle down in your pew of choice and enjoy today's message. I do have another weekly podcast that I do called The Sports Truth, and it's live every Tuesday with my co-host, Cheese. We are the 643 and Out guys, and you can find us on both X and YouTube at the 643 and Out pod. Now, by listening right now, you are a certified member of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is completely free on all podcast platforms. You can also be part of the show by joining us on YouTube and simply search Locked On Diamondbacks and leave your comments and your criticisms. I have a passion for this game and this team. And if you are listening, I'm sure you have that same passion. So whether you are a first time or a long time, I want to thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen of the day. Today on the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to review the weekend set in Colorado, as bad as it will be. We're going to learn more about Nabil Crismatt and define his role moving forward. And then we're going to talk about the series with Cleveland, who they are, and what we can expect. And we're going to answer those same two questions about our Diamondbacks. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. All right, guys, we were feeling really good about this team the last time we talked. Eduardo Rodriguez pitched probably the best game of the season so far. 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 6 Ks, 1 walk, and only did that with 93 pitches. Our bullpen only had to cover 2 innings, yet the Rockies bullpen had to cover 5 1/3 innings. And if you remember on Friday, we said that gave our bullpen a distinct advantage, right? Wrong. The theme was good starting pitching and good defense, and honestly, the worst bullpen in baseball. So we looked at game 1 on Friday. I'm just going to bypass game 2 because I'm going to focus on games 3 and 4 here as we look at the actual series. So game 3, Ryan Nelson pitched a pretty good game, at least good enough to win. He had a 13-pitch fourth, a 9-pitch fifth, and a 9-pitch sixth. Then he hit a wall. And it didn't look like Torrey had anybody ready in the pen. Or he was doing that Torrey thing where he says, let the starter work out of their own trouble all by themselves. And personally, I think that might be someone from, above him telling him to do some of that. Although we'll never really know the answer to that. The Rockies were down 7-2 in the bottom of the 7th and came back to win with team speed and a bad play in left field by Lourdes Gurriel. And all of a sudden, it's 10-7, and the lights are out, and the ball game is over. Now, I know it's Coors Field, but 8 runs after the 7th inning is ridiculous. Plus, It is the most deflating way to lose a game, at least in my opinion. I mean, you lead the entire game, and then all of a sudden, the bullpen comes in, gives up a bunch of runs, and boom, you lose. Let's talk about game 4 for a second. Nabil Crismatt. Torey said that the reason they chose him was because he's comfortable, he follows a game plan, and he liked his heartbeat. That was his 16th game against the Rockies and his 9th time pitching in Coors Field, believe it or not. His only other start actually came against the Diamondbacks on April 12th, 2022 at Chase Field. Now let's go into a few of the details on this one, right? So let's go top of the 5th. Rockies walked Perdomo to face Blaze, and it worked. In the bottom of the 5th, Blaze made an absolutely sparkling backhanded play that prevented a double. And then the starting pitcher went all the way over to third base to show his gratitude, gave him a big high five. I really liked that. That was really cool to see. McCarthy also made a great sliding play in left field. Again, he saved at least one run, and that play ended the inning. Bottom of the 7th, another great play by McCarthy to cut off a ball in the gap and hold Warmer to only a single, their first baseman. But once again, the bullpen wasn't just bad, it was terrible. But this time it was like, they're all gonna like take turns, don't they? This time it was Woodford's turn. So he went in, got a 1-2-3-6, looked really good doing it, and then he gives up 4 runs in the 7th. And then Beeks comes in the 8th and gives up another run, and they end up losing by a run. It almost seems like it doesn't matter who Torey puts out there in this bullpen. They just can't seem to perform. And I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I do have a theory, but let's wait a little bit before I call people out by name, all right? But I also believe there were 3 big turning points in this game. Here's the first one. Honestly, the very first play of the game. They challenge and they lose the challenge on a play that the replay system got wrong, if you ask me. I mean, I looked at it in real time along with the rest of you. I thought the guy's foot came off the bag and then never got back to the bag in time. And it took forever for them to figure this out, and I think they still got it wrong. The announcers thought they still got it wrong. Even people in the crowd thought that they still got it wrong. Certainly, Perdomo thought they got it wrong. The challenge system needs to get better. The replay system needs to be better. What do you guys think? Hit me up. Tell me in the comments below. Does this replay system need to be better? And how can they improve it? Second of the big 3 turning points in this game, the bottom of the 7th, with 2 runners on and Mickey Moniak at the plate. They pitched to him. Now, if it didn't take me but a few seconds to pull up these stats, for God's sake, somebody in the dugout has to have these same stats, right? Mickey Moniak is hitting .339 with runners in scoring position. Tovar, according to rotowire.com, when he is up there with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, which is the way it was 2 outs and runners in the scoring position, he's had 15 chances so far this year, and he has 3 hits. One of them was an extra base hit, and he's got 5 Ks. Why in the world did you pitch to Mickey Moniak when you could have just walked him, there was a base open, and took your chances with Tovar? I don't understand that. So earlier in the game, they walked Perdomo to face Blaze. The Rockies got it right. And then later on in the game, you had Torey Lovullo pitching to Mickey Moniak when he could have walked him and faced Tovar. Sounds like our buddy Torrey got mismanaged today. And I think he did. Third big turning point, top of the eighth. You pinch hit Del Castillo for Herrera, and he walks. Then you pinch run Barossa for Del Castillo. Then you turn around and you pinch hit Marte, and he pops out. There's an error on Bernadelle, their first baseman, and then Blaze hits a sacrifice, moves Barossa to third, and Carroll strikes out. And, I was watching this in real time, right? And to me, I'd love to get you guys' opinion as well on this one. All of these moves at once, because they just crammed everything together, right? They pinch hit, they pinch run, they do all this other stuff, and it was just all right there together. All of those moves at once, didn't it make it seem kind of desperate to you? Because it felt desperate to me. And then when it didn't work, it seemed like it was a last gasp. It was like a boxing match, and you've got, you're getting beat, the points and the punches are not in your favor, and so you just, that last round, you just start throwing as many haymakers as you can. It seems like the Diamondbacks threw all these haymakers, but none of them worked. So therefore, it seemed really desperate to me. I'd love to hear you guys' comments. Let me know if you guys thought the same thing or if you think I'm crazy. You wouldn't be the first people to tell me that. So there were some questionable strike calls as well. I will certainly give both teams actually that. But I really felt like there was a lot more of them that went against the Diamondbacks than there were the Rockies. Gurriel did hit a 347-foot home run, and he had 5 hits, 7 RBIs, and 2 home runs in that 4-game series. Gurriel has done really well, and we're going to talk about him in this cleanup spot tomorrow. I'm coming around to him being in that 4th spot, but I do have one condition, and I'll tell you what that is tomorrow. Now, Gurriel hit an impressive 374-foot home run, and then Carroll, actually the hitter before him, because they went back-to-back, Carroll hit his first, and then Gurriel hit his, but Carroll blasted a 474-foot home run, which was third longest in the MLB this season. Trout's number 1 with 484, then Buxton with 479, and now Carroll with 474. So they're all pretty close right there, all within 10 feet of each other. And I have to say, I love the double steal. It worked to perfection, but I also have to question why they didn't do it later in the game when they had Perdomo and McCarthy on. They could have done the same thing. So my big takeaway here from segment number 1, they lost 3 of 4 games to a terrible last place team. The Rockies have only won 7 series all year. Oh my gosh, let me repeat that. The Rockies have only won 7 series all year long. 2 of them against the St. Louis Cardinals, and now 1 of them against our Arizona Diamondbacks. I thought that we were going to win 3 of 4 and had everything outlined to do this podcast. I had the graphics already and everything. It was going to be called Within Striking Distance. But now we get to choose between average and below average. And we'll answer that in segment number 3. And then segment 2 will be all about our newest Diamondback. How did he do? Does he deserve another start? What's his role moving forward? And what has been his baseball journey? We'll talk about all of that and more right now when we're done with PrizePicks. All right, guys. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football is not far behind. Whether you've lost or whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, PrizePicks Makes it easy to get in the game. I am most excited for Kyler Murray myself. I mean, yes, I'm an Arizona Cardinal fan, just like I'm an Arizona Diamondback fan, and I think most people will overlook him, but I will not. I'll be picking him a lot with my PrizePicks. The flex play option is fantastic. Honestly, it's a total game changer. I still doubled my money even when I missed one of my picks. PrizePicks puts their members first. And all withdrawals are always fast, safe, and secure. So download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, I'll say it a second time here for you because it's a heck of an offer. Download the app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, everybody, as you probably noticed, I did a little bit of a different setup today. I pulled the microphone up here a little bit. I've gotten some stuff from some of you saying, you know, the audio is not, it's okay, but it could be better. So I'm trying to do some adjustments here. I usually don't like putting the microphone up here on the screen with me. Personally, I just don't like that a whole lot when I watch other podcasts. But let me know. Talk to me. Tell me if the audio is better. Do you like this setup a little bit better? I will certainly take all your comments to heart, and we'll go from there. All right. So YouTube is a great tool for you to get everything you need about your Arizona Diamondbacks. But in order to do that, please subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications, and never miss a video so you are never not informed. I'm also very active on X. I post, do a lot of reposts. We'll throw some poll questions out there every once in a while, and so much more. And you can get that at LO_Diamondbacks. Now let's talk about our newest pitcher, Nabil Crismatt. So his final line in his start this afternoon was 5 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He threw 62 pitches, 46 of them were strikes. But let's take a couple moments to learn more about his journey, shall we? So on May 31st of 2012, he was signed by the New York Mets, and he made his professional debut that same season for the Dominican Summer League. Then he went to the Gulf Coast League Mets, where he was 1-1 with a 2.25 ERA in 19 games out of the bullpen. Fast forward to 2025, he pitched for the Kingsport Mets, where he was 6-1 with a 2.90 ERA in 12 games, and they started stretching him out because of those 12 games, 8 of them were starts. In 2026, you ready for this? The poor guy was a Brooklyn Cyclone, a Columbia Firefly, and a Binghamton Rumble Pony as he started going up through the Mets minor league system. During all of that time, he posted a combined record of 1-4, a 2.47 ERA, and 65 2/3 innings. So then he spent 2017 with the St. Louis Mets, where he went 6-13, 3.95 ERA in 26 games, and 25 of those were starts. So again, they're stretching him out for the starting role. He split 2018 between Double-A Binghamton and Triple-A Las Vegas 51s. Remember those? For those of you who have been out here for a while, you remember the Las Vegas 51s before they became what's now called the Aviators. In 27 starts between the two affiliates, he went 11-10 with a 5 even ERA and 140 strikeouts and 144 innings pitched. But then he elected to go free agency following that season. And from there, he started doing mostly minor league contracts. He did one with the Mariners, the Cardinals, the Padres. So those are the first 3. And then on April 1st of 2021, he was added to the major league roster when he was with the Padres. He recorded a 3.76 ERA, 71 strikeouts, appeared in 81 in the 3rd innings, and he recorded his first career win when he pitched 2/3 of an inning against our hated Dodgers. Yeah, he can get the win on those guys whenever he wants, right? Then he made a career high 50 appearances in San Diego in that 2022 season, registering a 5-2 record and a 2.94 ERA, 65 strikeouts, and 67 and a third innings of work. In 7 games, though, for the Padres in 2023, he really struggled. In fact, he struggled so bad, 9.82 ERA with 9 strikeouts and 11 innings pitched. And so the Padres designated him for assignment on June 20th of that year. 5 days later, on the 25th, he cleared waivers and elected free agency again, and then started this minor league merry-go-round up. He went Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Rangers, a second stint in San Diego, then went to Philly, and now he's on a second stint with Arizona on a minor league contract where he had one scoreless 2-inning performance in Reno with the Reno Aces, our AAA team, of course, and was then added to the 40-man roster. So we'll look at today again. Today he had an 8-pitch first inning, a 9-pitch second inning, and a 9-pitch fourth inning. He struck out 4 of his first 9 batters and only had 31 pitches after 3 innings. So where does he fit with this organization? Let's look at his career numbers according to Baseball Reference. So first, in the 114 games overall, and everything that I talked about a couple seconds ago, that's 114 games. He had 177 innings, a 3.71 ERA with 54 walks and 162 Ks. I love the stats, all right? So I'm going to give them all to you. Personally, I think he could help us where we need help the most. I want him to be a long man out of the bullpen. I'm not sure about his starting propensity yet. But again, we all know where we need help at. We watched it all weekend long. And my takeaway here is that he can't do any worse than the current pitchers we have in our pen, right? There's no way that can happen. So next, we're going to take a broad look at the Cleveland Guardians. See who they are, decide what we are then based on that, and then we'll make a prediction about how I think these next 3 games will go with the Cleveland Guardians. But first, let's do some FanDueling. All right, everyone, we're going to pop up that FanDuel logo there. There it is. And you guys know the summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the way to make every game more exciting. I mean, you already follow the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in the game while your friends, maybe they're your fans too, while your friends are getting sunburnt on the beach. FanDuel is easy to use. It has fast payouts, and it makes every regular season game feel like a must-watch event. Are you new to FanDuel? Well, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, get yourself into the FanDuel app and get started today. All right, guys, here we go. Segment number 3, the third and final time we'll talk today, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. When we're done here, do you want a broader look at baseball? If so, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. They watch every game so that you don't have to. And you just don't have to watch us on YouTube. Put us on in the car while you're grilling or mowing outside. There's all kinds of stuff we're all doing outside right at the moment. The weather is beautiful. And we are on all kinds of different audio platforms just for situations like that. We're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and as most of you know who have watched this multiple times, I love XM satellite radio. Now, as far as the Cleveland Guardians go, they start the series here, of course, Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's an off day, and then the Cincinnati Reds come into town. I can't wait for that series. We'll talk more about it, but I mean, the Reds are my hometown team because that's where I grew up. And then I moved out here and now support the Diamondbacks. So it's like the best of both worlds for me. I can't wait for this weekend. I'll be there at least one of those games. But let's not talk about the Reds yet. We still got the Guardians to get through first. So it'll be Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks in game 1 against Gavin Williams of the Guardians. The second game will be Eduardo Rodriguez for us, Tanner Bybee for the Guardians. And the third game will see Brandon Pfaadt start for your Arizona Diamondbacks, and he will go up against Joey Cantillo for Cleveland. Most offensive categories on the Guardians are led by Jose Ramirez, but I didn't realize he led so many. So batting average, home run, RBI, on-base percentage, and hits. All 5 of those categories are dominated by Jose Ramirez. So when you're putting a game plan together for this, just don't pitch to Jose Ramirez. I mean, how hard is this, right? As far as pitching goes, Gavin Williams has the most Ks with 127, and he also has the lowest ERA in the team at 3.38. And as I said earlier, it'll be him and Zach Gallen in game 1. Now, Bybee has the most wins, but it's only at 9, so it's not like he's a world beater or anything. And we'll see him in game 2. As a team, as a whole, the Cleveland Guardians, they are 26th in runs, 30th in batting average, and 29th in on-base percentage, 26th in slugging. And when you look at their team as a whole as far as pitching goes, they're 15th, so they're middle of the pack, in both ERA and batting average against, while they're 23rd in quality starts and 22nd in WHIP, walks and hits plus innings pitched. That's WHIP. So they have an overall record of 63-60, and the Diamondbacks right at the moment have an overall record of 60-65. So if you look at this on paper, we should beat the Guardians all 3 games, especially since it's at home. But the problem is, the games aren't played on paper. I will say this, and I believe this with everything in me, especially since we lost 3 of 4 in Colorado to the Rockies, we now have to get at least 2 out of 3 from these Guardians. And I wanted to answer this. I said this earlier. What are the Guardians? The Guardians are what the Diamondbacks should strive to be. The Diamondbacks are better than the Guardians as far as stats goes, yet the Guardians are above average in record. And the Diamondbacks are just the opposite. The Diamondbacks are better with their stats, but they have a below average record. I don't know, so I guess what my uncle always told me is true. Stats are for losers. And right at the moment, the Arizona Diamondbacks are in that loser category. This will wrap up today's show. Thanks as always for making us your first listen every day. Tell a friend, share this episode of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast with your social media accounts, and be sure to follow me on X at LO_Diamondbacks for more great Diamondback content. Later this week, we will have our first guests on the show as Ricky and Robert from the Red Hot Reds podcast will join us on Thursday with a preview for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend showdown with the Cincinnati Reds. And tomorrow, I'll discuss Lourdes in the 4-hole, remember? But there's a catch. I'll tell you what that catch is tomorrow, and we will take a segment to talk about the bullpen and how it may be able to be fixed, and some crazy stats on our bullpen that I'm not even sure the best fan out there is going to know exist. Now, for your next listen, check out Locked On MLB as Sully gives you a daily look at the biggest stories in the league. But as always, tune in so you can stay Locked On.